Hello, and welcome to Rory's Brainworks, where we get creative and see if it works. Today, we'll be doing D&D world building, creating towns. Marie, please don't do that. Spoiler alert, that's what she does for most of my campaigns. Neutral evil, lawful good. That's what they are. Now you may be asking yourself, how hard is it to make a town? It's not hard at all, but how hard is it to make a town with flavor that's memorable? Think about the campaigns you've been in. Has every town been something to be like, oh yeah, and then we went to that one place where this thing happened and it was ridiculous? Or did you just pass by that town, did a small side quest, and were like, cool, that was a town, and you went on your merry way? It's always wise as a DM to be both fun and engaging. You don't have to think of every small detail and aspect of that town. That would take forever. It is honestly very difficult to do, seeing how the players will do anything they want to. She certainly tries. So how do you go about managing that chaos, and how do you go about creating a town that'll be memorable, that's fun, and that your players will talk about later on down the road? Well, I'm here to give you some of those answers and how I do it. Before we get into it, I must thank my sponsors for today, the lovely people at the Tabletop Game Shop. They have some incredible metal and plastic dice that I've been using a lot recently because I enjoy the crap out of them. Not because they support me, but because I support them. Go on to the tabletopgameshop.com and put in Rory10 for 10% off. You're welcome, little dice goblins. Now, let's do our darndest to dream up some Dungeons & Dragons content. Alright, alliterations aside, let's think about this place we're creating. One of the things we should think about is how important this place is going to be. Is it the base of operations for this group? Is it going to be a place where a main quest happens, where they're going to be spending a lot of time in this place? Is it going to be a side quest, somewhere they show up for a few sessions but then eventually leave, having going on a few adventures there? Or is it kind of a way station, somewhere that the players go to once and probably never see it again? I've decided that this place is going to be a side quest area where your players are going to go for a few sessions, hang out there for a little while. So, what kind of place are we dealing with? Now, to help me create a place in my D&D campaigns, I have 6 things that I look for. Once these are established, the rest of the story starts piling on easier and easier. And these things are size, government, races, religion, economy, and story. You have sizes like a roadhouse, an inn, a few houses full of extended family that help run the inn, maybe farmers, servants' quarters, maybe 20 people that live there. That 20 people will include the people who were just staying there for a few nights, travelers and such. Hamlets. Hamlets are smaller than villages, around a population of 500 people. The classic village. Population of about 1,000, plenty of farmers, plenty of families, a large inn, a tavern, maybe a few shops, a place of worship, and a place for government. Town. Take that village, ramp it up. We got a population around 6,000 at that point. Small residential area, suburban-y, more of a downtown area. Cities. About 25,000 folk that live there. You know what a city's like. Use your imagination. And then a metropolis, something you don't often see in Dungeons & Dragons. A metropolis has around 100,000 plus people. They are rare, to say the least. What am I gonna pick? I'm gonna pick village. Tried and true. Now we have ourselves a side quest village. Wonderful. Let's go off of size and let's move on to government. There are a lot of different kind of governments you can use. Let me show you. Yeah, that's a lot of them. If you want, you can pause the video now and read over a few of them. You know what you can also do? You can make up your own government, so go away. She's so punk rock. And he's such a Boy Scout. Now, in creating your own government, the best flavor of all is weird. I will say it again, weird makes magic. So, let's come up with something weird right now. Let's say that our government is ruled by a group of elder mushrooms. Let's call it a sporin. A group of about 10 mushrooms. myconoids. Just think of living mushroom caps. Yeah. And every day they release spores that tell the village how the day should be run. Okay? So one of these villagers with a high government job, let's say a reeve, goes into the spawn of mushrooms, listens, sees, absorbs the spores, interprets what it means, and goes and tells the rest of the village. Let's call it a fungi-tocracy. Already, we have some weird magic going on right now, and I am here for it. Side quest village ruled by a group of old mushroom people. Awesome. I'm already all about it. So, we got government taken care of. One of the side bullets for government is relationships. How do the people relate to the government? Is it a good relationship, bad relationship? I'm gonna say it's a good one. I'm gonna say the people love these mushrooms. These mushrooms have been doing great things for them. An important point to bring up about your NPCs that populate your city, your town, or village. Where it is important to give some of these NPCs specific names, do not give specific names to a whole slew of them. That is going to be a lot of wasted effort. Why, you might ask? Because your players are unpredictable. Let's say you've created this entire village and you've specifically named 30 to 40 of these NPCs. There's a high chance that your PCs will not interact with any of them. They'll interact with some lone NPC that you haven't given a name to, a part of some small description next to the park is there were some children playing over there. The NPCs, like this jerk over here, will go over there and just start talking to these children NPCs. And at that point, you did not come up with names for these little children. Precisely. While you're struggling to come up with NPC names, what you could have done is create a pool of NPC names. That way, when they talk to an NPC and they're like, "What's your name, NPC?" you can just go, "It's this person right here." And at that point, you can then put a little hyphen and be like, "This person, a child that they met in the park." That way you don't have to worry about whether your random NPCs are flavorful. You are primed and ready. You can give specific names to some of them, but most of the time, the PCs just want to watch you struggle. This helps take away that struggle. So we can move on from government, make our way to races. Now, if you had a particular idea of what kind of races you wanted to be inside of this town, go for it. If not, you can make a random race table. That involves not only what races will be in there, but the bullet point to races is the relations. What kind of relationship do those races have with other races? So you can do a light mix of, say, like 2 races, or you can roll a D4 or a D6 to determine how many races are mixed in this melting pot of your town. So let's go and roll a random race table right now. Because I like randomness, thus we shall do the randomness. I'm gonna say that this village has a light mix, so 2 races that are a part of it. We got my random race list over here. It is super easy to come up with your own random table. The fun part about it is you can tailor it to what you think this place should be like. Your world, your village, do what you want with it. This random race table feels like a very standard one for me. One I tend to use a lot. All right, so let's roll for our 2 races. So we have a 39. So we are filled with dwarves and 23. And elves. Dwarves and elves. Tale as old as time. There's never been any bad blood between them. All right, let's check their race relations. 95. Which is going to be oppression. I had oppression as only a 10%, tension and rivalry as 20%, and then a harmony as a 50%. So there is active oppression going on between the 2. I did not account for this, as the dice are likely to do. So let's choose between the 2. 1 through 3, the elves are oppressing the dwarves. 4 through 6, the dwarves are oppressing the elves. 2, so the elves are oppressing the dwarves. Fair enough. Let's move on to religion. Something else that isn't equally as derisive. Elves and dwarves. Good, good. That's going well. That's gonna be great for our town. So primarily, most of this village is comprised of elves who utilize the dwarves as contracted workers. Not the best pay. Comes from bad relations from back in the day. Used to be slavery, but the mushrooms decided that that was wrong, and those mushrooms changed the way that this village operated. It still wasn't the best option for these dwarves, but it was better than slavery. Alright, we got races taken care of. Let's go to religion. You can have different kinds of religions in your world, or you can have one religion with many gods, or a combination of both. Whatever you want to go with. This is also something that could be randomly generated as well, because random makes it fun, you know? So let's say that our town does two things really well. Actually, no, they grow two types of mushrooms very well. The elder spawn of mushrooms release spores that show what the villagers should be doing on any given day to help cultivate great mushrooms. One of these kinds of mushrooms will be used for medicinal use. But they're also hallucinogenic, which, you know, makes it fun for your players if they happen to stumble upon them. Legal, medicinal, hallucinogenic mushrooms. The second kind of mushrooms that the village creates is really high-class, fine dining mushrooms. So that means doctors and chefs love this village and the mushrooms that they create. Cool. Now let's roll some religion to that. Let's go make it random and awesome. So I've opted for this village to have my gods be Nordic gods. You can do whatever you want. Do you want Greek gods? Do you want Egyptian gods? Do you want the normal gods for Faerun? Do whatever you feel like. So I'm gonna say that this village has 3 different gods that they worship. So let's find out. Get a d20 taking care of this one. First god, we rolled a 9, and that is Uller. Uller is a god of hunting and winter. Our second god, 1. Odin, the All-Father, god of knowledge and war. And our third, 14. We have Frey, god of fertility and the sun. Wonderful. Let's write those down and look at relations. Uller, Odin, and Frey are chaotic neutral and 2 neutral goods. Now let's look at the relations together, how they interact. We are using our D-hundo again, so 2 D10s. Let's see Uller's relationship to Odin. 61. 1 of tension. And Uller's relationship to Frey. 86. 1 of rivalry. Wow, they guys just can't get along. Alright, and we will now check the relationship between Odin and Frey. 22. 1 of harmony. Thank you. The 2 neutrals can get along, however the chaotic neutral just can't get along with anyone, apparently. So then you could think to yourself, how do these relations in the gods, how does that affect things going on in this village? Obviously, those who worship Uller tend to have a negative impacted relationship on those that worship Odin and Frey. So let's say those that worship Uller are those that go out and hunt for wild mushrooms that are a part of the process to create these hallucinogenic medicinal mushrooms and the amazing cooking mushroom. Resented by those of Odin and Frey who grow and create and sell those. That is our tension and rivalry. Those of Odin are the ones that create the last processes of it. Those are the people that deal with the fungi-tocracy, and those are also the people who deal with prospective buyers. Frey are that of fertility of love. Those followers are the people that grow the medicinal mushrooms and the cooking mushrooms, which have a rivalry with those that get out the natural mushrooms, because the Uller folk think that they are being undermined by the Frey ones. The Frey ones get all the credit, they're the ones growing, but the Uller ones just go out and grab the crappy mushrooms out there that are part of the process. Hence, rivalry. Great, let's move on. We've done some great things so far. I am totally all about this village, and I kind of got ahead of myself when it came to what we're doing with these mushrooms, because next on the list after religion is economy. What economic things are happening? Well, obviously, you have to decide what kind of economy is going on. Poor, is it moderate, is it luxurious? These are the 3 easy ones to do. I'm gonna say luxurious. Everyone is living very well, mostly the elves. The dwarves are living moderate. Despite having like almost indentured contracts, they're still living well. And some of the dwarves don't want to leave these indentured contracts because they're living a great life, and if they actually have freedom and go out somewhere, then maybe they won't have as good of life as they do right now. Oh man, that makes for some really serious undertones to this very odd village we've created. Story, that's our next thing. We know what kind of goods we have, and we know what kind of lifestyles our villagers are living. Story. We have these serious, almost slavery indoctrinated contracts, serious undertones going on with this village, but you can also go weird if you wanted to. Let's say the dwarven hunters, those that worship Uller, are being besieged while picking wild mushrooms out in the forests. Let's think of a creature that would eat a large quantity of mushrooms. A dinosaur. Triceratops. So let's say there is a wild, nomadic, roaming band of Triceratops that have come to this area near to the village and have decided they have a great taste for mushrooms and they're going crazy for them. So now that's probably a big part of the side quests, is trying to stop these Triceratops by any means possible, whether fighting them or trying to talk to them in a way, who knows, or trying to divert them, trying to get them to like a different kind of food and bringing them off a different direction. Maybe you end up herding a family of Triceratops away from the village towards another area of land, City Slicker style. Weird reference, but okay. To a place with a lot of food that isn't the mushrooms. And say while you're in the process of doing that, the dwarves that you're hanging out with that worship Uller also bring up some of the serious undertones when it comes to their contracts and the slavery that used to happen beforehand. See how the players interact with that. And already we have a very memorable village right now, if I do say so myself. Now location is also all on you. I usually do put location on the list, but that I feel like pigeonholes some of the randomness associated with it. You can create one of these villages and towns and then insert it anywhere that your campaign is at the moment. So if your players are up in some tundra-like land, if you've already decided that this village is in some kind of plains or marsh, that's not going to go hand in hand with that. You can then insert this village into a tundra-like area. The location does make it difficult to put these places that you create, like this village, anywhere. So we have to give this village a name. Let's use a mushroom, a Cremini Shire. That's the name of this village. With a fungi autocracy. It's basically the most amazing village you ever heard of, and I think I'm personally going to be using it. Well, hey! I hope you had as much fun creating that mushroomy village with me as I did with you. Quite memorable indeed. Feel free to use that village if you want to as well. That one is on me. I would be remiss if I did not bring up my other sponsors for today, the lovely people at Patreon. That's patreon.com/Rory'sBrainWorks, just like this YouTube channel. They are my D&D vanguard, my little dice goblins. And without them, these D&D adventures would be way harder to accomplish. Thank you for spending your time with me. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to this madness, and comment down below what kind of D&D things you would like me to teach you. As always, I'm Rory. This is my brain. I'm fairly certain it works. Be safe. Go create some art.